Hey, welcome back. It's Carlos Cavallo from datingfire.com and datingadviceguru.com. Women want to feel more seen, more heard, loved, and appreciated, right? But did you know that guys do too? Do you know any compliments that would make a guy feel your love? Let me put it this way. How long would you stick around if you didn't feel his love and appreciation? Well, he won't stick around long if you don't give back to that love bank account. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the 20 best compliments you can give a guy. And before we get rolling with this, make sure you do the big three. Number one, like and subscribe, of course. It makes sense. You want to get more of this good stuff. Number two, make sure you turn on the notifications. You want to know when the next video comes out. And of course, make sure you leave me a question or comment in the comment section below, even if you just want to suggest a video. And again, make sure you stick around to the very, very, very end of the video, because at the very end, I got a little surprise for you, a little extra bonus something. So again, how long would you stay around if you didn't feel his love and appreciation? Well, a guy won't stick around long if you don't give back to him. So yes, you need to know the kind of compliments that a guy wants to hear, because some compliments won't work. He won't recognize them as being a compliment. Yeah, guys are thick this way. There are a lot of guy compliments that he might be using on you right now that you probably miss too. I can tell you from experience that most men never get the kind of compliments they really want from a woman. So knowing these compliments for a guy will immediately give you the edge. Now, keep in mind that all of these compliments I'm going to give you can be used with texting too. Of course, every compliment does work better if you say it in person, so that's what I'm going to suggest you do. These days, I get a lot of women who only deal with men through texting, and you gotta step up. You gotta be there in person if you want to make an impression. All right, compliment type number one is recognizing his efforts. One thing that many women don't realize is that men put a lot of physical and mental energy into making you happy. In fact, you may not know this, but men spend most of their time in a relationship focused on that one thing, how to make you happy. If you doubt this in any way, simply ask every guy you know at work or in your personal life, ask him if it's true when it comes to relationships that men really do focus on making women happy. And tell him to really think about it, because you're going to find out he does. I'd say that at least 90% of men would agree that they are simply trying to make you happy in the relationship. And it all comes down to that infamous saying, happy wife, happy life. Of course, men also know what happens when you're not happy and it comes time to get to the bedroom, right? In the words of Apollo 13, Houston, you got yourself a problem. We know if we want to be happy, you need to be happy. So it's especially critical that you recognize the effort he puts in to make you happy. Keep an eye out for all the things he does to win your approval. Now, of course, the tricky part is that many of the things he does for you, you might not even notice. And if you stop noticing them for long enough, he's going to stop doing them. You may notice this when it comes time to get some chores done around the house. If he didn't get recognized when he was doing them, he'll figure, why should I bother? And then he'll stop putting that effort in. So how do you compliment his efforts? Easy. Say something like this. I really appreciate all the effort you put in around here. You're so good to me. Wow, you're the best guy to have around in a pinch. You're a regular Mr. Fix-It. Thanks. What would I do without you around? Now, another important thing to recognize is that if he's not doing a lot right now, he may already be in that place of feeling underappreciated, okay? So you might not have the compliment to give him. Start out by giving him the appreciation first, and then you'll notice that he's going to start trying to live up to your expectations. There's a famous saying that I use quite a bit, and this is really important. If there's anything you get from this video today, this should be it. Don't be the person who sits in front of the fireplace saying, first you give me heat, then I'll give you the wood. Nothing in relationships ever works like that. As a matter of fact, real life fireplaces don't work like that, so now you know better, right? Compliment type number two is compliments of respect. Now, one thing I've noticed about mature, stable relationships is that the partners in them, they always respect each other on some level. They don't resort to insults, put downs, snarky comments, that constant TV sitcom behavior. On the other hand, almost every single relationship that struggles has two people who probably aren't a good match for each other, and they're constantly belittling the other person because, well, they realize they're in a bad match and now they can't get out of it for some reason. Now, I'm sure if you look back in your history, you'll find a similar pattern in many of your relationships, that verbally taking it out on your partner. I've done it before. Most people have. Here's a little secret about relationships you might not know. Most of the problems in a relationship are simply because we expect the other person to behave and think just like us. Like exactly like ourselves. We expect them to have the same taste, the same sensibilities, the same values, the same communication styles, the same history. The list goes on and on and on. Now, when this happens, respect is lost, and a relationship is probably going to be lost. Guys, put an extra value on respect. So this one is really important. Here's a few ways you can show them respect. You can say, "You're really a man of integrity. I really respect you. You're such a hard worker. I really respect how you," whatever that might be. And by the way, if you don't feel respect for him enough to give him this compliment, why are you together with him? If you're in a relationship where you can't find anything to respect about your partner, you need to get the hell out of there. And I'm not kidding about that at all. Compliment type number 3, you have faith in him. This is another thing that really men want, and that's for you to believe in him. This is why it stings so much when a woman cuts a man down, especially when she communicates she doesn't believe in him. He wants your faith in his ability. He needs your faith to believe in himself and in your relationship. Because there will be times when he doubts himself and he will need to have your faith to bring him back. This is very often how women manage to pry into another relationship and get in there and break it up. There are some women who know this fact and they use this knowledge to steal a man away from another woman. Now, you can tell him you respect him like this. "Once you put your mind to it, I know you'll do it. I believe in you. You can get this done. I know it." Or just remind him of something he's already done and completed. So compliment type number 4 is complimenting his masculinity. Again, we're in a culture where gender seems to be more and more blurry every passing day. But rest assured that men are still men, or at least they still need to feel like men, and we still want women who are women. Now, I'm just talking about heterosexual relationships here, as I always do, okay? So don't get all activated and triggered by any of this. I'm just talking about heterosexual relationships. So when it comes right down to it, men want to feel like the man in the relationship. This means you can compliment him on anything that makes him feel like he's the guy for you. Let me give you a couple examples. "You're my hero. You're looking good today," or just good in general. Stuff like that, complimenting his physical appearance. "Your butt looks great in those jeans." See, guys don't need as much visual appreciation, but we do still appreciate it. "Looking good, handsome. Even when you're a mess, you still look good." Now, you get the idea here. Simply establish that he is your one and only man, and he will respond to you. Compliment type number 5 are trust compliments. Along with showing him that you have faith in him, you also have to make sure he knows you trust him, that you would follow him and respect him as a leader in your relationship. Now, when it comes right down to it, you want a man that can make you feel safe, right? Think about it. If you really search, you're going to find that that's at the bottom level, the bottom floor of every feeling of desire and safety for yourself in a relationship. You need a man that can make you feel safe. Imagine you're with a man that does not make you feel safe. Don't you just want to run away from that? This is essential for you to recognize. You absolutely need a man that can protect you. It's absolutely necessary, and you can't opt out of this one, okay? When you tell him you trust him, he knows he has your confidence. And if a man doesn't feel trusted, he doesn't feel like a man. What do you think that does to him? So every compliment that you can use that tells him you trust him is a good one. Stuff like, "I'm on your team. I'm with you. I got your back. I'll follow you anywhere. I'll take your advice." There's a huge one. Compliment type number 6 is let him know that he's competent. Another need that men have is to know that they are competent at what they do in life. Competent means that he knows his stuff, whether it's a hobby or his vocation or even being competent at lovemaking. He needs to know that he's good at it, because no man wants to think he's inadequate or incompetent. This is a huge bruise to his ego. Men are devastated when they discover they have work competence issues. A simple annual review can really affect a guy's self-perception, even if he's not showing it on the surface. I've had this happen to me many times. So let him know that he's a winner, that he's on top of his game. Some of the things you can say are, "You rock. Wow, you're so good at that. You really know your stuff. That was awesome." The more you can make him feel like he's an expert, the better. Now, here's one situation we got to talk about. What if he doesn't deserve the compliment? And once again, if you find that you can't give a guy any of the compliments I just gave you because they stick in your throat because you don't honestly believe what you're saying, it's for one of two reasons typically. Reason number one that you can't compliment him is you have a very fragile sense of your own self-worth. And so complimenting other people is difficult when you're not getting that back in return. It feels like giving value to others somehow diminishes you in some way. This is one that I personally experienced and very much in my 20s and 30s. Reason number two that you can't compliment him is that you're in a relationship that isn't well matched. We talked about this earlier. You might be seeking to hold on to this guy because of your own attachment issues or you're scared to be alone, but you really shouldn't be in a relationship where you two don't fit each other. These are the two most likely causes, and both of them can be really hard to accept about yourself. Yeah, whichever one is your situation, it definitely demands immediate attention. Let me give you a little bonus here, a little bonus tip for how you can compliment him. Another vitally important part of your compliment is that you actually believe what you're saying. Believe it. If you tell him that you trust him, but then you proceed to quiz and question and undermine his feeling of being trustable, can you imagine what that's going to do to him? He's going to simply stop trusting you back. And even worse, he'll probably stop believing you when you compliment him. And that would be the death of your relationship. Now, I got another bonus one. Stick around to the very end of the video, kind of like the blooper reel at the very end. I don't have much of a blooper reel. It's kind of boring, so I'm going to give you actual good information. Stick around to the end and I'll give that to you. The trick of compliments, though, is to use the kind of words that a guy can appreciate and understand. You got to know what the words and phrases are that men typically respond to. And this is important. There's a whole science to this. There are certain words that trigger a man's obsession with a woman. There's certain words that can make you feel angry. There's certain words that can make you feel unhappy, awkward, anxious. Words can have an incredible impact on our day-to-day experience. You've probably experienced this yourself. You hear somebody say something and you feel an emotional reaction. Now, it's not actually the words that are creating that. It's the way that person is thinking about those words, right? Our thoughts create our reality. Our thoughts create our emotional response to something. But if you do know what words to say for a man, which is very rare, by the way, there's very few women who know the specific words that men are actually looking for and want to hear. But if you can actually say those words, they activate him in the right way. You can get him to not feel like he's going to need to push you away. You're going to get him to feel like he needs to pull you closer. You can change how he sees you with the words you use when you talk to him. And you may have actually seen this when a guy actually talks to a woman and that woman says just the right thing to him and you notice he's smitten and you're confused. You're like, what's going on? This guy's totally entranced with her. He's obsessed with her. It's a very real phenomenon and it does happen. So how does a woman have this kind of effect on a man? Very simple. She understands the power of words and the emotional responses that they create. There's a whole science of this, in effect, and there's a lot of different ways of explaining it, but there's only one that matters to you, and that's how do you get a guy to respond to you, both romantically, with his heart, with his emotions, and to get him to want to be closer to you instead of further away. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. How do you pull him closer, make him love you, instead of having the opposite effect? Because most of the women who contact me for coaching and for questions, who write me every single day, have this one question. How do I get this guy to come back to me that I had at one point? Maybe he came on strong and now he's pulling away from you. Maybe you guys had a long relationship and now he's flaking out. He's acting weird. He's acting distant. He's not there for you. You've got to be able to use the right words to find out what's going on and to turn this thing around. Now, if you have this problem, if you have any roadblock or obstacle in your relationship, maybe it's not that specific one, but anything that's coming between you and the man in your life, you've got to find out what that thing is if you're going to be able to fix it. And unfortunately, most women don't know what that thing is. Mostly because guys don't talk about this stuff. We don't relate our emotional experience unless you know the words that will unlock him and get him to express these things. Get him to talk to you. You can do that, and I'm going to show you how. If you have any question about where you are in your relationship, get some advice. Go on over and take my free relationship roadblock quiz. It's something brand new I created. You're going to love it. Go on over to datingfire.com, see this little link below me, datingfire.com/help help me Carlos. That's datingfire.com/help me Carlos. What I can do is I can help steer you in the right direction to give you that understanding, to help you figure out what the heck is going on with this guy and get it fixed before it's too late. I don't like to talk in scary terms, but it's very real. If you don't do something, he's not going to pull himself closer. Okay, he's not going to do it on his own. He needs you to help him do this. Men don't have this kind of relationship skill. That's why I teach women this part of the equation. I get a lot of women that write in and say, well, why don't you teach men how to be better guys? Well, you know what? Here's the problem with that. I do that, number one. Number two, what part can you control? What part in this play do you have the ability to do something about? That's right. Your own side of the equation. The words you use, the things you say to him that will either have one effect of pushing him away or the other effect that you want, which is pulling him closer. So going over to datingfire.com/help me Carlos, take the quiz, just 15, that's 15, not 50, 15 fun-loving questions that will help you understand exactly where the problem is and you can get this thing fixed, okay? Going over to datingfire.com/help me Carlos right now. And before you go, make sure you do the big 3 because I want to make sure you keep coming back for more great information. This is why I give away all this great free information, is I want to impress upon you there is a lot you probably don't know about guys. Number 1, make sure you like and subscribe to the videos. You want to keep getting more of this stuff? That's how you do it. Number 2, make sure you turn on the notifications, the little bell indicator next to it. And number 3, if you have any questions, you want to suggest a video, whatever it might be, leave that down in the comments section below. And of course, stick around to the very end of the video, very end. I got another tip for you. Hey, this is Cavallo from datingfire.com. As always, live and love with passion. So real quick, bonus number 2 is you got to be specific with your compliment. Very often men feel like the compliments they get are on the weak side. They feel they're just not believable what he hears from a woman because he isn't really sure what it is you're complimenting about him or if it even really fits him. It could feel generic, like it could be for any guy. We all suffer from this thing called an imposter syndrome. This is that feeling that we're just imposters in our own life and we're always going to be found out as a fraud. And this is why a specific compliment that zeroes in on him and leaves no doubts is the actual best compliment. Don't tell him he's handsome. That's kind of weak. Instead, tell him that you love the way his beard gives him that strong King Leonidas look. Yeah, it's from the movie 300. Very much a guy movie, and he'll totally get the reference. Remember, the trick of compliments is to use the kind of words that a guy can appreciate and understand. You have to know the words and phrases that men respond to.